Hi, my lovelies. This is Tabby here from tabbies.ca. And this week I have Bev from Glass Scape Studios. How are you doing, Bev?
I am doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm great. I'm actually doing really good today.
That's good.
I had a coffee not long ago, so I'm pumped.
You're good to go.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. Um, 2 years ago, I had a friend that I went to high school with whose sister passed away. And she knew that I was always artistic and creative. And she had some boxes of mosaic um, things, glass, tile cutters, et cetera, et cetera. And I had never done a mosaic in my life. And she said, I know you're artistic, and I'm just, she was tired of going through all these things that her sister had. She's not artistic at all. And she said, would you like them? And at the time, I was caregiving for my mom who had Alzheimer's. And the last thing I was doing at that time was crafting, doing anything art wise. Just there was no time. My mom was a 24/7, 7 day a week job. And I told her I would take them because I just felt like she really wanted to get rid of them. Like, I'll take them. And I thought, if I don't use them, I can find someone who would use them. Well, when my mom finally passed away, those boxes had been sitting in the garage while I was taking care of her. And I was in a bit of a fog when my mom passed away. It was very hard. I was focused on her, again, 24/7 as a caregiver. And I felt very much lost when I lost her. I mean, it was hard enough losing her, but losing that focus that I had, that I was so intent on taking care of her, and she was my focus, and it was gone. And about 3 months into that fog, I remembered I had those boxes in the garage. So I pulled the boxes in and I laid everything out, and I went, this is interesting. And I happen to have the first piece I ever made right here. And
Oh,
it was just a 4-inch tile, like a bathroom kitchen tile. And these were some of the elements that were given to me, and a couple pieces of jewelry and just some tile. And I did it, and I grouted it, and I did through all the steps, and I thought, I could do this. So that's how simply this started, was just this 4x4-inch tile. And my friend created a monster, and I have been mosaicing ever since. And it's actually also turned into kind of mixed media. I do a lot of repurposing jewelry, watches, plates. You may see some plates behind me here that are stacked. I do thrift stores, and I find vintage, really pretty floral plates, and I bash them with the hammer, and they go into some art. And it's fun to repurpose things like that, that are just kind of unwanted pieces from people, and you put them into something kind of great. So 2 years ago that started, although I was very creative even in my younger years. But what I'm doing right now started just 2 years ago when I was 60. So kind of shows you can start at any age,
good for you. That's awesome. Starting something new.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary to start something new.
It brought me so much joy. And I think, coming again from a responsibility that was actually horrific, not to bring the podcast down, but it was a horrific responsibility. I would do it again in a minute. My mother and I were like this. So, there was no other option than for me to take care of her. But, to watch someone you love so dearly decline, mind wise, it was very, very hard. So when I finally got back into the creativeness, and I mean, I've always been a writer, I've always been a photographer, I've always been an artist, drawer, painter, but I've never, played with things like this. So it just, I don't know, it lifted a fog from me. And I really don't mind talking about that because, if it helps somebody else, to just get your fingers into something creative, I really needed it. I really needed it at the time. And it's kind of taken off. So, it's all good.
And it sounds like it's really helped you.
Yes.
I know lots of people use, like, there's been a lot of big push recently for art therapy.
Yes.
So this is almost like your own type
Yes.
of, of therapy for yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's funny, even when you say that, even during my mom's bout with Alzheimer's, I remember an afternoon where we made greeting cards, finger painting. I made her finger paint, and we sent
Yep.
all the greeting cards to the grandchildren. And, I thought that was really
Oh,
cool because they all have them. They all have that memory of her doing that. So, but,
and,
another example.
no, and what a beautiful thing to keep, because you can keep that forever.
Sure. Sure. Something she did herself.
That's a beautiful thing. I'm sorry for the loss of your mom. Like, I couldn't. My mom moved away to the Yukon. Um, this years ago now. She moved to the Yukon, and it was a really hard experience. And I still can talk to her. So like, I'm very fortunate that way, where I still have contact with my mom. But I couldn't imagine going through what you did.
It it's very hard to even explain to people. Like, when this first started happening, and then during her bout with Alzheimer's, she also had a stroke. And when she was life flighted away to the hospital, I thought, this is the last time I'm going to see her. Well, my mom is a very strong woman, so she got out of the stroke, and I brought her home. And I really had thought I had mentally prepared myself for what was to come. Yeah, I knew I was taking on a huge responsibility, but I'll tell you, until you walk in those shoes of caregiving for someone who is afflicted with Alzheimer's, or for that matter, any dementia or stroke, or, any ailment, you just don't have any idea what it takes. I don't think caregivers are given enough credit for, what they do. I mean, I left the workforce. I was actually uh, executive assistant, in a, very lucrative job, and I had to quit my job, and, to take care of her. So it it was hard, but I'm kind of getting off the subject, and I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. And I understand that. Like, I actually, believe it or not, was trained as a PSW. I actually have a couple of friends of mine that still work in the industry, one of which actually works in a dementia ward.
Oh,
And when I did my schooling, I got to spend some time with some dementia patients as well. And I had one one client I dealt with that had brain cancer. So even though it wasn't the same, it still had the similar symptoms. And I know what you're saying there. And it is something that, if you don't know, you really don't understand.
no.
Like, there's some days everything is normal, and then other days they don't remember who you are.
Mm-mm.
Like, I can't imagine what you went through with your mom, but good on you for that, because
Thank you.
that's something that you will have forever.
Absolutely. I regret nothing. And actually, I'm writing a book, so I'm hoping that will come out in the near future about my experience with my mom.
That's a great idea, because it helps other people kind of understand what's happening
Mhm.
and what to expect, because it is a long road.
Very long.
And it helps you too, because you get to put those feelings into words.
Tabitha, every day, again, I not only do the art, but I did writing, but every single day I wrote my mom a letter. And I knew she would never read them, because she couldn't at that point. And even if she did try, she wouldn't understand them. So every day I wrote her a letter, and actually the book is compiled of all those letters I wrote to her every day.
Oh,
So
that's beautiful.
so I'm hoping I can get this published and out there, because it basically talked about the daily things that we went through. A lot of people say one day at a time. We took it 1 minute at a time. We had to take it 1 minute at a time. And like you said, sometimes we laughed, and most of the time we cried. It was difficult, but we got through it. I know she's at peace with my dad, and life does go on. But I I I just am grateful that I got to experience that time with my mom. Really.
And that's the perfect way to think about it too, because that's, like I said, it's something no one can take from you, and you'll have
Nope.
that forever.
That's right.
So that's a beautiful thing. So
Thanks.
did you make a piece specifically for your mom at all?
Um, Actually, I made I started some pieces in the midst of all of this before she got bad, and then I put them aside, and they were actually sculptures, and
Oh,
they're not on Etsy because I kind of can't let them go, but they're they're three divas, I call them, and there is Afro-American diva, there's a Caucasian diva, and then there's a Eastern Indian diva. So there's three divas, and half of their face is happy and beautiful and earringed and gorgeous hair, and the other half of the face, there's broken glasses, there's a nail through the cheek, there's blood, and on each one. And it was basically my feelings of going through the Alzheimer's with her, how it was just so up and down. And then it also, to me, was more of a humanity thing. As I finished them, they were it kind of was a message that no matter what color you are on the outside, your blood is all the same on the inside. It the the three girls progressed from my feelings about dealing with the Alzheimer's, good and bad, good and evil, however you want to describe it, to um, almost a humanity type of feeling when I was done, that no matter what your skin color is on the outside, when you're hurt, your red blood is the same. So it doesn't matter if you're, black, white, purple, pink, whatever, when you're hurt and hurting, it's the same color. So it kind of, I have another website that's not Etsy. It's just my name website, and they're on there. Those girls are on there. The divas are on there.
okay. That those sound really cool. Like that's a great way to kind of come to grips with the strong feelings, because there's a
Yes,
lot of strong feelings there.
yes, there were, and I used really crazy repurposed staples and nails and wire and telephone and computer wire, and they're really unusual. So yeah.
Sometimes the more unusual it is, though, the more you connect with it.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
That's really neat. And what a tribute too. Like it's something that everyone who's experienced this is going to understand.
Oh, for sure. That's for sure. They're very graphic.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us that, because a lot of people go through these struggles and they use art to kind of overcome this. And it's hard to talk about any strong emotions that you have,
Oh
let
yes,
alone the loss of your mom and the almost in a way a continual loss of your mom.
absolutely, absolutely. And even as I work with the mosaic pieces, and the friend that gave me the mosaic pieces is a friend of mine on Facebook, so she sees what I'm doing, with these things that she gave me, and I'm even beyond those things that she gave me now. I've
Yep.
used everything she gave me, but I just know that I'm sure that just warms her heart to see that, you know, from her loss of her sister, came, it brought me a lot of joy. The things that she gave me brought me a lot of joy. So yeah, the sharing I think it's important in this world today.
It is. It really is, because we're taught to use things and throw them away.
Right.
And that's actually kind of one of the things I love about what your art is, because you seem to take things that have most people would think have no more purpose,
Hmm.
and then turn them into something just extraordinary.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know my husband's like, you're saving that. And I'm like, oh yes, because in the back of my head, I have an idea of where that's going and what I'm going to do.
Well, I save weird things too, but I don't normally have an idea of what I'm going to do with them. They kind of sit around.
Okay. You will. Something will come up.
Well, and you just find the perfect time too, right? Like there's always this, like creatively things are, they're never static. You're
No.
always thinking about something you're doing or something you've done and
That's so
what's
true.
coming next. Like creative people don't think just right here.
Never. That's very true.
I just went to my quilt meeting tonight, and you come back and you have all of these ideas for what other people have done and what their workshops are coming up. Like there's always ideas.
Oh yeah. So fun to network with people too, like other artists and, in different genres. And when I participate in different art shows, if I get the chance to leave my booth and, go visit and talk to other people and check out what they're doing and get inspired, it's great. It's great. A great community to network in too, really.
I agree. And I love, like, you talking about the art, like going to the different booths and stuff when you go to art shows and stuff. I love doing that.
Me
Even if I
too.
don't have a booth, I just love going there and
I'm the
seeing what,
same.
yeah. And there's always cool ideas, something you've never thought of.
Absolutely. And I have to say I've stolen a few. I mean, I made them my own, but I saw something and I'm like, oh, that's really cool.
When I first started like creating, really, I was doing clay, and I seen these dragons online and I wanted to make them. So that's really kind of what sparked that in me. So it's not always a bad thing to
No,
mimic what other people are doing.
no. And what did
think
they
it's Oscar.
say? Copying is the biggest form of flattery, or I forget what the saying is, but
I believe it's Oscar Wilde says that imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
that's it. Yep.
There is a little bit more to the quote, but it's not as friendly. It's
Right.
but yeah, I like it when people become inspired from what I'm doing. Like I like seeing people make something similar to what I made. Like it makes me feel like, I don't know, like I did something great.
Oh, absolutely. I'm flattered. It flatters me when people ask, how I did something or if I can help them in some way. I mean, I've asked myself over the years, different people, and I've always been, grateful when someone shares something that, makes something easier or something I never thought of, absolutely.
Oh yeah, and you make good friendships that way too, by that, like, give and take.
Yes.
You were talking about the art shows and stuff. I seen online, like you have quite the presence at art shows and craft shows and stuff. Like your booth is big and full. Like
Oh,
good
yeah.
on you.
Yeah. And this past year, 2022, was the first time I ventured out to do those. So I had never done them before. I've always gone to them, like you said. I would, when I knew there was one coming around, I was there, because I love to have art in my house, and even other people's art I love in my house. I just love art, period. But yeah, so it was quite an experience. I mean, it was a lot of it was labor intensive. We had to rent a truck, because you have your big tent and your tables and that whole 9 yards. But, I had gone the year before that I decided to do it. And I really, really absorbed like a sponge what booths I was drawn to, what made me, what maybe not even the art, just the appearance of the booth. And that was very important to me. So, black is kind of my color. It's on my card. And, so we did black tablecloths and, we kept very uniform with that. And, it was striking. I mean, I had so many people come up to me and they might not have bought the art, but they just loved my booth, which was fine. I mean, it was fine. but it was flattering. I thought, oh, well, all that thought that I put into it, at least something came out of it. This year we just moved. We just moved into my dream home, and
Oh,
yeah, that was pretty exciting. And we have an absolutely beautiful piece of property. So I am thinking that I'm going to do a spring and a fall show right here at my home instead of hauling everything, miles away. So it's just like you said, I'm constantly thinking about things. So that's one of the things that's in there that, I might do instead of, hauling. But we'll see. We'll see.
that's a great idea too, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's really exciting. And it's funny that you were talking about the presence of your booth at the craft show, because when I was looking through and seeing the videos and the pictures and stuff, it's something that really struck me, because when I first started going to craft shows, I didn't do that. So I showed up and I had my little pink tablecloth and I had my business cards, and that was about as much branding as I had. And the fact that, because I thought this might be your fourth or fifth year doing it, like the fact that you had all the branding, everything was color coordinated, everything matched, the logo was all the same. And I really thought, like, you know, this girl's put a lot of work into her marketing.
Yeah. I do. Um, you know what else helps me? And you're gonna laugh. Pinterest.
No, I won't laugh. Pinterest is like the epitome of inspiration.
I know. Why didn't we think of that? Why didn't we think of Pinterest? We'd be really rich right now.
I was just going to say, we could have been millionaires by now.
No, I love, so honestly, that's what I did. I got into my Pinterest and I just started typing in, craft show displays, and that's exactly what I did. And like I said, and then going to the shows and actually seeing and thinking, what's drawing me in? Oh, it's everything's unified. That's kind of what's pulling me in first. And then and I don't know if you noticed in the pictures, I had these people wanted to buy these garlands. It was cracking me up. I just had these little fabric ripped material garlands hanging from the tent structure. And they were in my colors, black and white. And I don't know. I had seen it on Pinterest and I thought, oh my gosh, that's so cute. I love that. Went to Walmart, bought some small squares, took the scissors, started a notch, ripped, did a little loop knot across a rope, and hung him in there. And I can't even tell you how many people commented on that. It absolutely cracked me up. I probably could have sold them 10 times over, but I thought, this is part of my display, so I don't think so.
But you're like, I'm not even a fabric artist. I'm doing all the tiles and stuff.
I know, it was funny.
That's crazy though. But it's proof of what doing your research does for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just got wonderful, wonderful. I had people come up to me and say, "You had the greatest booth in this whole show." And I was like, "Really?" Wow. Okay, thanks. I'll take it.
No, and you have to find a way to kind of separate yourself from the crowd when you go to a craft show.
Very true. And you want people to come in. You want people to come in and see what you have. And I tried to set it up so that it wasn't crowded and cramped, and I don't know. There was a lot of thought put into it. So I think it's nice that you noticed.
No, I definitely did notice, and it looked very professional. Like it looked like something you would expect from like a commercial company that was coming in and doing a display. Like it was really good. I thought it was awesome.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome, but it's all on you. You did such a great job. But it was something that I really was struck by, because a lot of times people walk into this, and you're kind of at an advantage because you have a lot of life experience.
Yes.
But I know when I started, I didn't even think about researching the way that your booth would look at a craft show, or how to do it. Like that was the furthest thing from my mind. I was like, oh, I'm just going to bring my stuff.
Right.
But it's not about the stuff. Like it is, but it's not. Like at a craft show, lots of times people come to talk to the artist.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know that's one of my favorite things to do, which
Me too. Me too. I love, I love there's and it was funny because I did 3 or 4 shows, and I think 3 of the shows the lady she kept coming back. They were in different cities even. And she's like, "Oh, I was
oh
looking
wow,
for you." And it was like, "Oh, that's fantastic." So that was
that
neat.
must have been such a good feeling.
Oh yeah. Yeah, after you think of all the work you did to get there, and I mean, not to even mention everything that you've made in your own studio, and then having to pack it up and transport it and take it down, and yeah, so that was a great compliment for sure.
That's awesome. And you've only been doing this for what was the year you started doing the crafts shows? Like a year ago?
Just last year was my first time.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd never
Good
never
on
done
you.
them.
That's so awesome. That blows me away because I really would have expected you to have, like, done this for a while. Like, I know
No.
you've only been doing this for 2 years, but it's it's really good. I'm gonna show a picture of the craft booth in here so people can see what I mean.
Okay.
Um, so like I know you said you started doing this and you had never done the tiles before. How did you learn about grouting them and like color combinations? Did you watch videos or?
I did. I also joined a few Facebook groups. And that was very helpful because even just I was just kind of in the background, but just scrolling through. And a lot of questions that I had were being asked, first time mosaic people. And that's how that started. And then once I learned, I feel that every time I do a piece, no matter what it is, I learn something. I learn something. I, I mean, it could be all kinds of different things. Now, with mosaicing, what's really neat about mosaicing, you create this piece, you design this piece, and it looks beautiful when when you've got it all glued down and you're looking at it, and then you're going to grout it. And I mean, I can't even begin to tell you the difference that the piece takes on when you put grout over it. I mean, you slather the grout all over it, and then you begin to polish it, and the grout sinks down into the cracks, and you polish and you polish and you polish and you polish until it's nice and shiny. But that piece that might have been bright light colors are now these rich deep jewel tones, and the tiles haven't changed. But that's been a learning experience. I did a few things with white grout and I hated them. I hated
Really?
them. Yeah. It just, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's something out there with white grout that's beautiful, but the things that I did when I white grouted it, but then I got smart. And I mean, here's a perfect learning example. I hated the white, but I loved the piece. And I was so upset. I'm like, I've ruined this piece by putting white grout. But I got a paintbrush out and my acrylic paint, and I painted the grout lines. And
Oh,
when I use acrylics, it absorbs into the grout, but I can wipe it off the tile. So you didn't have to be like precise. You could
yep.
just kind of slather it on, but then it changed the whole look of the piece. And then you put a top coat on it anyway, so it's protected. But that's just one example of just learning. I had a whole big tub of white grout that what am I going to do with? You know what I did? I took little margarine tubs, and when I was going to do a piece, I put white grout in it and I put some acrylic paint in it and I stirred it up. Black, gray, whatever color I wanted. So,
Yeah.
You learn. You learn from your mistakes. And that's what's just fun. I mean, it's just the whole thing is fun, even though you look at your piece going, oh my God, why did I do white? But then, you start thinking, how can I fix this? So, yeah.
That's really cool. And what a great example of thinking outside the box. Because if you hadn't looked at it and said, okay, what can I do? You probably would have never thought about painting the grout.
No, you're right. Right. But it was just something I loved. So it was like, I've got to fix this, and there's really not much you can do once you grout it and it's dried. other than taking a chisel and getting the, which I wouldn't never go that far, but I mean, maybe a piece or two if it was bad or I didn't like it, but it would just destroy the whole thing. So,
Yeah, and it's hard once you've gotten it there and you have it all created. Like I've never made mosaic tiles. I've always found them really interested, and I've thought about doing like stepstones in my gardens and
oh
stuff.
yeah, start
But I
small.
just
Start small.
yeah,
It's fun.
exactly.
I mean, it is so therapeutic. You have no idea. You would love it. You would love it. You should try it.
I should try. I love most things. Like I love trying all different things. I love kind of like growing and stretching and that. Like so yeah. Maybe I'll have you maybe I'll have you teach me sometime.
Yes, I'd be happy to. I've had a lot of people ask me that too. Do you give classes? And it's like, maybe I should think about that.
That's a good idea. And now you've got this big house you could do them in.
Mm-hmm.
That's a thought.
I know. I know. I
Bring them
love it.
over for the craft sale and then be like, hey, since you're here.
Right. Let's take these little 4-inch tiles and I'll show you how to start one.
Yeah, but that's cool because it's all about kind of colors and combining things. Like it, I really do like what I've seen there and stuff. Like when I first emailed you, I was talking about the koi fish.
Yes.
Those are so cool.
Yes. They were fun.
Colorful.
They were fun. Yeah. I mean, koi are so beautiful anyway, but they were really fun. I sold one of those just a few months ago to a gentleman in, I believe it was Tennessee. And they were redoing his wife's office and they were putting a koi pond outside the office. And he bought that for her to put on her wall, he told me. So that, I mean, just stories like that are like, that's so cool.
I love knowing that like where my stuff's going and what's happening with it.
Oh, me too.
A friend of mine bought a purse and gave like a custom ordered a purse and gave it to her sister. And so I got a video of her opening it and I was so happy.
That's
Like
so nice.
little things like that just make your heart want to explode with like
I know. I mean, it makes, all the work worth it. It really does.
Yep,
Yeah.
it sure does. Like there's more to art than just creating. Like and unless you've created things, and I'm sure you understand what I mean, like you really feel emotion go into those pieces when you're making them.
Every time. I do a lot of commissions for people that have lost a dog or a cat, both. Right now I've got a dog in the works, a border collie that they lost right around Christmas. And the friend contacted me and said, I'd like you to do that. And it just, I mean, I'm attached. I don't have children, but I have 2 fur children, 2 French bulldogs, which you probably heard a minute ago. And sorry. And
That's okay.
I'm so attached to them and I love all animals, period. So yeah, I mean, those pieces too, especially just really, and then I'll usually hear back from the people that, oh my gosh, they were in tears. I mean, not happy tears, not sad tears,
Nope.
but just
Yep.
loved them so much. So that's been probably one of the most requested things I've done, and not just animals that have passed, but just pets. I have a lot of people that ask for. I don't know if you can see the little guinea pig behind me.
Oh, I can't see the guinea pig. You'll have to send me a picture and we'll put it up so we can see it.
The little guinea pig, but yeah, it's. I mean, my focus has almost changed a little bit with my studio that I focus a lot on animals. I mean, people love, birds. Anytime I do a bird of any kind, oh my gosh, I can't even keep things like that in stock. They love the birds, they love the butterflies, they love the dragonflies, which is awesome. I love all those things too. So, to be able to create them and, have people love them. I mean, it's the best of both worlds. It's great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned the birds because my mom loves hummingbirds. So I'm always looking for new hummingbird things.
I'm telling you, I cannot keep hummingbirds. It never fails. I mean, which is awesome because I mean, I have hummingbird feeders and all, everything. I love hummingbirds too. So it's interesting. And, like I said, I kind of, when I first started out at the beginning of the 2 years ago, I was doing kind of all different kinds of things. And I noticed that the animals were going, whatever I had done with any kind of, like I said, bird, or, whether it be a fish or, a mammal or whatever, they just seemed like they went. And I thought, So I started focusing a little bit more on, the animals. Not that I can't do anything else, I can, but, I thought, well, if that's what people are looking for, I'll go that
Yeah,
way.
for sure. Give them
Yeah.
what they want. For sure.
Right.
But there is something really magical about those custom creations you've made. Like the one I'm thinking about is the most recent one up there is the boxer. And
Yeah.
the likeness between the picture and the actual mosaic is incredible.
Thank
And it's
you.
not just the boxer, there's a bunch of them. The
Hmm.
the likeness is uncanny.
Yeah. And that was really special because the mom came to me. Her daughter got the boxer puppy, but she brought me, and she told me, you can use these items or not. I don't care. And if you don't use them in the piece, you can keep them and use them in something else. Well, there was a beautiful brooch of the grandmothers of the girl that owned the boxer. And there was a beautiful rhinestone bracelet. And I immediately, when she was handing me these things, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, that little bracelet's going to go around his neck and that little brooch is going to hang, and on his little paws. There was 2 cultured pearl pierced earrings that she gave me from the grandma. So they went like in the middle of his paws. So, and there was a wooden bracelet. There were some wooden beads in there too that were hers. But, that was really, she sent me a picture of her daughter holding it after she opened it. It's like she had the biggest smile on her face. So, that was really nice. Really nice. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun when they bring you, goodies that they want tucked in, and you can think of how you're going to do that. It's fun. Yeah, I
Yeah,
love doing those.
you almost become part of their story then, like part of their legacy there.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't know. Art just brings me so much joy. It's not only joy creating it, but when I'm wrapping something up for somebody and I know it's going to be put on their wall, and I'll say, send me a picture, and then lady sends me 2 pictures of these 2 girls that I had painted. They were actually, well, they were mixed media, and she wanted both of them. And here she had this. One was Afro American, and the other one was white Caucasian, kind of Irish with red hair, and they kind of bounced off each other. The Caucasian background was black, and the Afro American background was white. And I mean, they really looked cool together. And she ended up getting both of them, and it was so neat because she sent me pictures. They were on each side of her fireplace, and her whole room was black and white, and it was just like they fit in there perfectly. So that was neat. That was really, really cool. I was so glad that she got both of them because they look perfect.
That's awesome. I love it when someone comes to you with a commission and you make it and it ends up being exactly what they wanted. Like it's they're like it's almost like you read my mind and you just, I'm like,
Hmm. And have you ever had one that they didn't like?
um so I try to give them in stages. Like when I make stuff, I try to show them in stages so that if they don't like it, I know kind of right away. But I have changed items and changed layouts for people before.
Yes. Well, my problem
Sometimes.
is I and I try to explain this, like when someone picks up something and says, I would like to get another one of these. Um, because I repurpose things, I have to explain to them, I am not a mass producer of anything. I mean, I could have 10 of these, and of the 10, none of them are going to look like this. I don't have this piece of jewelry. Yeah, I don't have 10, you know what I mean? So
Yep.
I did one once. She picked up a butterfly at one of my shows and she wanted another one. So, and I thoroughly explained to her. I said, I can absolutely do you a black, silver, and white butterfly. That's no problem. But I said, it will
Yep.
not be the same elements that you're looking at. Yep.
Yep.
And I can make it the same size, shape, everything. But I said the elements on here will be different. So I got smart. I made 3 of them because I thought,
oh, that's brilliant.
but I thought, that way, if she doesn't like one, maybe she'll like one of the other 2. And it was funny. She was a toughie.
Oh,
I took it back and I ended up painting a little bit on it to lighten something up or something that I can't even remember. It was a rose or something that, she didn't like, but it was easy because I had metallic paint and I just kind of painted it up and showed it to her and she liked it. And the neat thing about that was, as much of a pain as she was, she bought all 3 of them.
oh, that's awesome. That's perfect.
So that worked out fine. And, sometimes you're going to have somebody that just, they don't get it. It's like, unfortunately, I just don't mass produce things. Everything I do is unique and one of a kind. And I think that's what's so special about my studio. I can't, it's not like I'm drawing a picture and could copy it for you.
Yep.
It's something that you're holding. And, I don't know. I like it that way, but it's hard sometimes to explain that to people.
No, and if you've never created like that, then you don't really understand. Like, even with the tiles, each one is unique. Like the
Right.
coloring is a little different in each one.
Right.
Then even with the china, you could find another, of that exact plate, but when you break it, it's not going to line up the same.
Absolutely. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
But that is kind of part of your magic.
I mean, I like to think so. I like to, I'm not perfect. That's what I tell people. It's like, I'm not perfect and neither are my pieces. I mean, I use lots of natural things. Glass has have cracks and little divots in them and things like that. And, the grout might get caught in there, but, it's just, it's imperfect. And you just have to realize, using these things, it's going to happen. Wood or, whatever I use, it's not, it's just not a perfect, plastic thing. I mean, that's been molded. So, it's just a reflection of my imperfections. That's how I look at it.
I don't know if it's a reflection of your imperfections.
I think it is.
I prefer that it's a reflection of your magic.
Okay. I'll
So
take
it's
that.
all about framing that positively, right? Because
That's right. That's
I think
good.
I think each piece is gorgeous.
Thank you.
Like and some of the things you've done have been so unique. Like the pig. Did you find the pig and then put the mosaic on him?
I found the pig. We were at a garage sale and I looked at that pig with that little bird coming off his little behind. And I was like, I have to have this. And again, my husband was with me and he's just looking at me and I'm like, I just have to have this. So Penelope was born. Yeah. I mosaic. It was a little kid's toy. There's a little string and you can pull her.
Oh, I didn't know that. It's so cool though. I loved it. It almost looks like it has like a saddle on it with the way the mosaic is.
Oh, you're talking about that pig. Okay,
What do you think I meant?
I have another pig. Yeah. That other pig.
Oh, the little glass one. The pink, the two-tone pink is what you were talking
Yes.
about. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was the toy. I'm sorry. That's where my mind went, was to the toy. But yeah,
No, I know.
the little cardigan sweater. Yeah. I've
Yeah,
got a couple of those.
he's so cute.
Thanks.
Did you find him at a garage sale too?
I'm trying to think where I found him. I think he might have been at a local craft store, maybe. I think I might have found him. But, I just see him and, I think they might have just been like bronze, like just solid bronze color. I think that's what those 2 were. And, you got to paint them. You got to give them some bling. Yeah. So, yeah, sometimes I just see something that's just like, oh, this would be adorable, fixed up. And I don't know, the other thing I love is, I don't know if you saw on my Etsy store, the old vintage photographs that I beaded.
I actually wanted to talk to you about that. Like, are those because they look like they're real pictures. Like I feel like I've seen them before. Are they real?
I go online and I just put in a search for vintage photographs, and they're real photographs from somewhere in some place in time. They're old. I mean, they're old pictures. They're all black and whites. So I download them and I colorize them myself the way I think the color should be. The pictures laid under glass and framed, of course. And then I do the beading on top of the picture. So, yeah, in fact, here, I've got one right here. I'll give you a close up. This is Penelope and her pups. And I'm trying not to get it in the light. Let's do this.
Okay.
So, the photograph was colorized by me, then put under glass, and then all these tiles and beads. I kind of created a wallpaper behind her and a floral rug.
Wow.
And the dogs are beaded. I don't know if you can see the little bugle beads around their collars. And her dress has a pattern to it. But yeah, this was just an old black and white vintage photo that I just loved. I just think it has a lot of character.
What a way to find something and turn it into a more modern piece of art that people I would gladly put those up on my wall. There's one, the girl holding the goose. I just love her.
I know. She's awesome. That's Greta and her goose, I think. I always name them. They have to have names before they leave me. But yeah, these have been one of the more fun things that I've really enjoyed making. Just because I think they're so funny. There's the kiss, and it's a giraffe coming over the fence at a zoo, and he's got his big blue tongue out, and he's licking the old man. They're just hilarious pictures. They just make me laugh.
And they're so cool. Like you have the boy that has the two cats on set. Hey, where else are you going to see that?
I don't know. You're really not going to see that today. I don't think. There's just something about them that they're funky, and they make me laugh. I love them.
And they're kind of timeless.
Yeah, but you also have to find the right person for them too, and it's funny because I've sold quite a few of them, but when the people come in and they buy them, I just look at those people and I think, yeah, that's the person, that's the person that would like those. That's like my puzzle necklaces that I've made. It's just, they're just puzzle pieces that I have put a backing on, and this one happens to have a butterfly, and I add some beads and things, and I do matching earrings to match, but they're big. They're big. A lot of people don't wear big, statement pieces like that. So there's a lot of people that look at them and they're like, oh, those are nice, and then they move on. But there's a few ladies that have bought a few of these from me, and just the way they're dressed, it's like they're the perfect fit, perfect fit. But everybody's different. I mean, that's what makes art fun.
Oh, it's true. It is true. And without those differences, we wouldn't have art.
Right. I know.
The necklaces there, the one macaw, that big red macaw, he is so cool. And I guess I used to wear bigger necklaces. I prefer them to be a little smaller now. Mm-hmm. But I can just see someone in an office walking in with flared sleeves and the big macaw necklace and just killing it,
I know. See, I'm not afraid to wear big. So my sister's funny. She's more of the fine jewelry, person with the tiny things. And she just rolls her eyes. And then, then I'm wrapping one up and I'm looking at her at the, she's helping me at the art show. And I'm just like, you didn't think I was going to say any of these, did you?
Nothing like a little healthy competition.
That's right. It's funny. But yeah, those weren't her. She wasn't, she didn't get them. She was one of those people that didn't get them. So, but that's okay. She doesn't have to get it.
Well, and with art, not everyone's going to get it.
No, you're right. Yeah.
But that, like I said, that's kind kind of the fun of it, because for every personality, there is someone creating an art similar to that.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I mean, even me. I mean, I'll look at a piece and I'll think, okay, but I appreciate it. I mean, as an artist, I appreciate it, but it wouldn't be something I'd hang on my wall, sort of thing. But
Nope.
yeah, but I don't know. I like to take chances. So I've got some other puzzles that I just bought that I'll make some smaller ones and I'll post them on Etsy and you'll have to look at them. See if you
Oh,
like them.
definitely. I'll
Yeah.
definitely look at them because I love the puzzle pieces. They're kind of cute. Like it's like you get a piece, like that's your missing piece.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
They're
Yeah,
really like they're really cool.
oh, thanks. They were fun.
I wanted to ask you about, like, because I know you use the grout and stuff. You do the plant stakes, and I love those plant stakes. Like there's the butterflies and the birds and stuff, and they're so cool. But they look like they're wire. Like, how do you put something on them? Like, how do you make the foundation for them?
Like, you mean the steak and that
Yeah,
kind of
like how
thing?
do you get? Yeah.
I have a welder friend that he welds things together for me. So
Okay.
yeah, uh, and some of them move. They have a little springy thing attached, but he welds those pieces together for me.
I was wondering because they looked like they were made for the mosaic.
Oh yeah. I mean, I I don't know. Was it the butterfly you're talking about, or the birds, or is there?
Well, I was looking at all of them, but the birds one are the ones that have like these little coil things that look like they move.
Yes. Yeah, they do. In the wind, they'll move in the wind. But it's just like a little spring on the back that he welds for me.
Okay, that's so cool. So, like, what is your favorite of all these? Because you've got all kinds. Like, you do the tiles, and then you repurpose different items, like the pigs. I know we got confused on which pig was which, but there's a couple. Like, there's that little Scotty dog.
Yes. Little Scotty dogs. Um, oh my God, what is my favorite? How do you answer that? I have to say, probably the vintage photographs for me, just because they're so fun. They're so fun. This is an interesting story. I was contacted by a lady. She was the creative director of Le Bon Air Children's Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. And it's a
Awesome.
world-renowned children's hospital, from what I understand, after researching it a little bit myself. But she contacted me. I had one of the vintage pictures was called Greta and Her Gator. And she's this little girl with a pixie, and she's walking down steps with an alligator on a collar and a leash. And she absolutely loved this picture. And she's like, I have a budget for the hospital, and I would like to order some of your things, for the children's hospital. Well, the other part of the story is there was a little girl that was taken to the hospital at a very young age. Her name was Lucy Krull. Um, and they have a foundation now called Go Lucy Go. And Lucy's favorite things are ladybugs. And I had done some ladybug plant stakes that she had seen on my Etsy site. That was some of the other things that she saw, but she was really drawn to the ladybugs as well. And she told me the story of this little girl. And she is miraculous, this little girl. I mean, she has fought, she's been near death a few times and has fought very hard, and she's still doing very well. So that makes me really happy. But
Yeah.
she wanted to buy some ladybug plant stakes to put in the garden of the hospital to represent Lucy. So
Oh,
that was that was just, it was just so humbling to me. And she told me that they were doing a fundraiser. I think she contacted me in March and the fundraiser was in May. So I actually made Lucy a little ladybug necklace, and I sent that in the package, and I asked her to give it to her. I never heard from her after that. And I should reach out to her because I could message her. But yeah, so that really makes me feel good that my art is hanging in that hospital. And it's in the gardens for, hundreds of children to see and enjoy. I mean, it's fantastic. And then my photography, I was asked, I was on Martha's Vineyard and I went to a photo workshop, and I was approached by a trustee on the board of Martha's Vineyard Hospital, and they have an incredible gallery of art in the hospital. And they have a whole index. When you're a patient, you can pull it up on your phone or your iPad, and you can look up a piece of art and who it's by, and you can go see it. It's kind of like we were talking before about art
Oh,
therapy
yep.
and, kind of healing, art healing sort of. But they asked me for 3 of my photographs, and, they're hanging in the Martha's Vineyard Hospital. So if you look up Martha's Vineyard Hospital and look and type in my name in the website, my photos will come up that are hanging on the wall in there. So, that was a wonderful honor, to do that.
That's wonderful and so inspiring.
Mhm.
That's so like that's just beautiful.
Yeah. Her story was, the little girl's story was, how anybody could go through all that and then just such a tiny little thing. But, she's doing very well, I guess. It's a hard road, but she's doing well.
It's crazy how strong kids are. They don't get enough credit for being they're stronger than most of the adults I know.
Yes. Agreed. Agreed.
I love that the ladybugs are in there though. I love that the plant snakes are there in the garden because
Yes.
you know that some little girl or some little boy is looking at them and dreaming.
Yeah. Making them smile when, probably they're in pain, or whatever. It's just quite an honor. I was just thrilled when she contacted me. Thrilled.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. That's amazing. What a great way to like create a legacy. Like,
I'm pretty proud of it.
and you should be. That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Um, I like, yeah, that's so crazy. I think everybody wants their art to be showcased in some way.
Yeah. And the other thing too is what's interesting is when as we're talking about that, I've tried to put my art in several local galleries for art shows and um, denied been denied. And it's just like, the first time that happened, I was like, what? And then we went to the art show, the gallery, and we're looking around, and I'm looking at some of these pictures, and I'm like, how did that get in and not that, not mine? I think it's just normal for you to feel that way. But, I just you just can't let it get you down. I mean, you can't, and believe me, I've been denied many times. And then, a year later, our local college did a skull and skeleton show. And the curator called me and she said, your mosaics are amazing. And it's funny because she was the curator at the other shows that I wasn't in. Your mosaics are amazing. And she's like, do you think you could do some skulls or skeletons? And I'm like, yeah. So I gave her 5 and I sold 3 of the 5 in the show. So it was funny. It was, I mean, I just, to
Yep.
tell artists out there, if they get discouraged, um, don't let it get you down. I mean, just keep at it. You're gonna find your place somewhere. Somebody's gonna find you, or you're going to find the place where it fits.
And what good advice because everyone that creates goes through these kind of struggles where you're trying to find what you do. You're trying to find, who you are. Like I know for me, a lot of the art I make and stuff is me finding out stuff inside of myself. Like I do journaling and then I do my art and it's just like you kind of make points, like make connections within yourself through your art.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's
So
cool
like when
that you journal too. Me too. I
I
journal
I
every.
I, I didn't used to journal, but I find that when I journal it kind of focuses me
Mhm.
and I get a chance to kind of really think about what I'm feeling and what I'm actually thinking. Because sometimes you think you're feeling a certain way or you think you're you're in this state of mind, but when you journal and you sit down, you write about it, you kind of piece it together. And sometimes it's not exactly what you thought it was.
Right. So true. So true.
Um, but yeah, it's yeah. But you almost answered my last question. Like I have these questions that I ask every meeting, but one of my questions always is, what would you tell an emerging artist? Like, what would you tell someone who's just starting out with your craft or with a different craft? But what would you say to someone who's just starting out?
Um, I would say just starting out, do it for you. Do it for you. Create for yourself. Let your expression, your feelings, your emotions, whether it be on a page or a sculpture or, a mosaic or whatever it may be, just kind of do it for you. And, it'll come. I mean, it's just amazing how, like I showed you at the beginning, I started with a 4x4 inch tile. I mean, it was that simple. And I just grasped onto it and thought, I'm going to do this. This is awesome. And, I mean, I have an Etsy shop now. I go to shows now, I've got my things in hospitals now, so, and none of that was, I mean, I didn't expect any of it, but I think that's what I would tell somebody. And what one person, just like I was saying about, not being accepted in the art show. I mean, what one juried, artist or photographer or whoever it is, doesn't like about it, there's 10 other people that will love it. You can't let it stop you from being creative. I mean, for me, like we had talked a little bit about before, it's such a therapy, to do it, and a lot of the things I do, sure. Would I love to sell it? Sure. But I'm not doing it. I'm not making a living, from this. I mean, I'm not, unfortunately. I'd love to, but I'm not. But it doesn't matter. I mean, when I'm making something and I'm in that moment of creating and looking at it and standing back and putting that finishing touch on it and, holding it up. I mean, especially, and I mean, look at my commissions. People have just seen what I have done, and they're like calling me up and they're like, could you do this? Could you do this? Could I send you a picture of my dog? Could you, yeah, I mean, it just, you just have to get started. But, and again, I didn't make this 4x4 inch tile, to make a bunch of money. It got me out of a really, really dark, dense fog. And, I just will forever be grateful to my friend that gave me that box of goodies, that sat in my garage for 3 months. But it, it's been a wonderful experience. But yeah, that's what I would say. Just do it. Just do it, whatever it is. If it's pencil, charcoal, pastels, watercolor, oil, whatever. And, if you don't like it, move to something else, go to something else. But it's so good for the soul, to be able to create. It really
I
is.
I hear you there 100%. Like
Yeah,
there's something about creating that allows you to release things that otherwise are stuck inside.
absolutely.
My son, my my daughter is into music, and she makes her own music. And she said to me the other day, she's like, sometimes I just can't get it out. Like I can't get it out. And I said, that's why you make music. And she's like, you're right.
Yes.
And it is. We have to let these pieces of ourselves out that we can't really put into words. There are no words for some of the things that go on in ourselves.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
art kind of bridges that gap.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a prime example of that. I just, you know, that's the only way I can describe it. I was in such a fog when I lost my mom, and you're going through grief and all the steps of grief and stages of grief, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I'm older, and I put applications in for jobs, and just got rejected, and I just thought, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I got the box of mosaic stuff out and I just started piddling around and, here I am on a podcast.
Yeah.
Who knew?
And it's that gratefulness that you talked about shows in your art. Like it shows in what you do. The fact that you've helped other people with their grief of the loss of animals and stuff,
Yes.
and really the loss of loved ones, because you
Yes.
love your animals the way you would love your children. But
Absolutely.
the fact that you're in two different hospitals
Mhm.
and you're inspiring people who are trying to make themselves better through something that helped make you better. Like
Yes.
it's almost like gratitude is all over what you make.
Yes. Isn't that just a wonderful cycle? I mean, it really is. It's just, like I said, I'm so grateful. I'm so, so, so grateful, and I went through breast cancer too and COVID. I was hospitalized with COVID back in 2020. And, I've been close both times to not being around. And you just have a completely different attitude when you're faced with that. But I'm feeling great. I'm doing great. And, I'm just going to keep on, keep on.
Yeah,
Keep
no,
on
for
doing that.
sure. No, good for you. Like that, the fact that every time you've been beat down, you've stood back up and worked even harder, that's good on you. Because a lot of people, when they get beat down, they get scared, they get hurt, and they just curl up and they don't try anymore.
Right. Not
And
me.
it's easy to do that. It's hard to stretch yourself.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Especially, when you go through things like that. But made it through. And, I'm here for certain reasons. So, you know,
And maybe that reason is to help inspire other people
I hope
to
so.
keeping on.
I mean, that would be a wonderful legacy to leave, you know?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And you're already leaving that legacy.
Yeah, I hope
Like
so.
no, for sure. You're helping heal people and helping people see things in a way that they otherwise may not have seen.
Right. I agree.
So I do have to ask, I think we've kind of talked on it, but I just wanted you to kind of form it in your own opinion. What inspires you?
Um, well, that's a really good question. What inspires me? Um, I think I think most people take for granted the gifts that are around us every single day. I'm one of those people. I mean, even before any of my, illnesses that I had or anything like that, I've always been this way. Like, I'll be driving down the freeway and I'll see a blue heron fly across. And I will always think to myself, is there anybody else noticing this beautiful blue heron? Or pass a hawk that's sitting on a branch in a tree. My husband always yells at me, he's like, keep your eyes on the road. But but I am. But I glance and I just see these things, or a lawn full of dandelions in this early spring or summer, green lawn with all these little yellow it just like little things like that. And honestly, I really do think just the beauty that surrounds me every day inspires me. And it's just the little things. um the little juncos at my bird feeder, or the squirrels doing somersaults trying to get the peanuts from my bird feeders. Just like, I don't know, I appreciate all of that, and I never take any of that beauty for granted. And I think that probably would sum it up for me. um I just feel that there's so much beauty all around us, and that's what inspires me. It really does.
I love that answer because I feel like I'm that kind of person too, where you notice something, like you notice things that people don't always notice, and it's yeah, it's there's something really special about every moment that we're living. We just have to find that special thing.
Yes, I know. I just, I just put blinders on for some of the stuff, but the rest of the stuff that I see every day, just in my own backyard. Spring's my favorite time of year, when everything just starts coming out and blooming, and the tulips and daffodils and iris and all that. I'm just, every day I go out and they're an inch taller, and I'm just like, ooh, I just get so excited about it. I love spring. Um, But yeah, I don't know. It's just all about rebirth and, you know, blossoming. And but yeah, we're surrounded by all of it. And I just wish people would just open their eyes a little bit. You know, they don't have to walk very far. It's they can stand in one place and see a lot of things.
That's true. That's so true. And I know sometimes I get frustrated because I'm like, how does nobody see, like we live on the coast, and I'm like, how does nobody see the beauty of, being here every day?
Right. Absolutely.
It's
Life is
yeah.
very, very short. Believe me, I'm going to be 62 next month. And at 62 years old, I think back of, when I started drawing when I was in junior high, and it was like a blink ago, a moment ago. And here I am at 62. It's like and you can tell people that you can tell young people that till you're blue in the face, and they're just not going to get it till they're 62. you
Yep.
know, it just goes
Yep.
by so fast. You just
I
gotta,
have
you got to grab that brass ring and do something.
It's true. It's true. My oldest son will be 20 this month in 17 days. And 20 years is just, I
I
don't
know.
even know what happened.
Isn't that
It's
crazy? I know. It's nuts. My nieces and nephews too saw them at Christmas, and I'm like, holy cow. They're like almost as tall as me. It's so funny. It's crazy. It's crazy how fast. And maybe their parents don't think that was so fast, but to me it does.
I made this quote when my little boys were littler, and my husband likes to repeat it all the time, and it's the days pass like years, but the years pass like days.
That's so, so true. I love it. I love that.
Because every day you hope for bedtime. And then at bedtime you think about it, you're like, wait, this kid's how old now?
Right. Right. It's
And it
crazy.
is. Yeah. But and I this has been so awesome, and I really appreciate you coming on, and I think I could probably talk to you for another good 2 or 3 hours. Like I feel like there's still so much more to talk about.
I'd be happy to
But
come back.
hey, I would love for you to come back.
It was fun. It was fun. I was a little nervous because I'm not much of a talker. I'm a little introverted, believe it or not. My husband's like, you don't act. I said I am. I'm introverted, but it was fun. I had a great time, and when it comes to art and sharing, that's right up my alley. So I really appreciated you getting a hold of me. That was awesome.
Well, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. Like I know that sharing your story is not easy, but I'm sure that someone listening to this is going to be touched by that and maybe see things in a way that they haven't thought of before.
I hope so. I hope so. I know, like I said, I'm a perfect example of, really coming out of a dark place, and finding light and color and joy.
And it's hard. Like I know I didn't talk about this, but I did lose my best friend. It's been years now. It's been over 10 years. It's been a while, but it there it is a hard thing to allow yourself to come out of that when you reach those depths and you don't come out of your bed for a week. It's really hard to find a reason to get out of bed. And
Absolutely.
I love that you found a way to let art help you become who you are now, because I'm so thankful that you are who you are. Like I love your story and what you're doing for people, and it's
Thanks.
beautiful.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, believe me, when I was in the journey with my mom, you just, and the hard part of that was you you were like, when is this going to end? And then this guilt would just be placed upon you because you're like, I'm saying this, and the only way it's going to end is if my mom passes away. I mean, there's just so many emotions that you're feeling and dealing with. And, the last thing I wanted was my mom to pass away. But, it just, I mean, the disease was just so horrific. I mean, it just took my mom, it took her brain and it took my mom from me, so it was it was very, very, very hard. It was just, it was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And again, I have absolutely no regrets. I took care of her like no one else would ever have taken care of her. But,
Yep.
um, yeah, it was hard to get out about it. I just, and like I said, you're so focused. I mean, every day it's her. You've just got one focus, nothing else is taking care of her and making sure she's fed and she has her medicine and she's clean and whatever. And then you get up and you're like, it's there, that focus isn't there anymore. It's gone. What do you do? What do you do? I was out of the workforce. The 24/7 caring for her was for 3 years. I mean, I was with her for 15, but the 24/7 and leaving the workforce was 3 years. And it was like, I mean, I was just in such a fog. That's the only way I can describe it. I know I keep saying the same thing, but I don't know how else to describe it. But
Well, by the time 3 years had passed, you probably didn't. You lose your identity.
yeah, that's so true. And what's really sad too about Alzheimer's is you lose friends. You can't go anywhere, you know. And for some friends don't understand it, so they're afraid of it. And they stand back. I mean, thank God I had my partner who, stuck with me through thick and thin. And I have a wonderful sister who is fantastic. But it's a huge sacrifice you make to take care of somebody that you love like that. And again, I don't mean to sound negative because I would do it in a moment. I loved my mom dearly. But yeah, it was she even would react. Like she would even react sometimes that like I couldn't go to James's, my husband. I couldn't go to see him or whatever. And she would feel bad. She would cry and she would feel bad. And it's like, no, I'm right where I'm supposed to be. I'm here with you and I'm fine. But it was funny because she even recognized it on occasion, that, what was really interesting, Tabitha, is about the last 2 years that I was taking care of her, she called me mother. Whenever she wanted me, if I was in the other room, she'd say, mother, mother. So it was an interesting cycle that here my mother, who nurtured and supported and did everything for me growing up, the table was exactly turned. And now I was being the nurturer and the supporter and taking care of her. And it was interesting because in her mind, she felt like I was her mother. And that's what she called me.
Crazy. And thank goodness for you though, because that, it means a lot to have family to take
Oh,
care of you and to
I
be with you.
I just could not imagine her anywhere else, but in her own room, with me taking care of her. I just couldn't. And it was hard. I'm not going to lie, it was hard, but I don't mean to be getting off the subject or getting sad, but art does wonderful things for people. So it I just encourage people, in any kind of situation where they're down, just let the light in, just let it in. Don't fight it, let it in, and you'll get through it. You'll definitely get through it.
And art is a great thing because even if you make something terrible, you can burn it, smash it, bury it, and it doesn't exist anymore. But
Right,
it's not here anymore.
right. And remember those plates behind me? You take a hammer and you whack them. I mean, it gets a lot of a lot of tension out. Just wear
You know,
safety
it's
glasses.
it's funny because people pay a lot of money for those rooms where they destroy things.
I've
I
heard
forget
about
what they're
that.
called, but anger rooms or something, and they just like smash everything.
Just get into mosaic so you can do it.
Yeah. No, that's a great way to look at it, right?
Yeah, it's fun. It's
But
fun.
yeah. But I really do appreciate you being here, Bev, and I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you sharing your story and stuff. And I mean, this has just been full of inspiration. This
Aw,
whole
I'm
meeting.
so glad. I hope I inspired somebody. You know, art's inspired me, so I hope it can help somebody else that
It,
watches. I hope.
I think it
But
will.
thank you for inviting me. It was my pleasure.
I really appreciate. Like I brought you on because I loved your art, and I think I love you as a person. even more than I love your art, and I like your art.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. We need to stay in touch.
Definitely, we definitely will. And when you get that book out, you'll have to let me know because I'd like
Okay.
to read it.
Yes.
Like that's
Yes.
yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Bev.
Thank you.